Welcome to Hashtime with Navguzi Chwanuka. This is a place where we help you unravel social constructs, discuss self-development in line with mental health, emotional well-being, and everything in between that directly or indirectly affects us in the millennial world around us. If you're hearing my voice for the first time and are the kind of person who is not scared of being a better version of yourself even if it requires you to contradict who you were 24 hours ago, consider this your virtual home. I'm your host, Navguzi Chwanuka, and I cannot wait to engage with you in the various conversations. For this Wednesday's episode, Shemei and I are talking about how transformational it is to be self-aware and how dangerous it is for society to feed on one narrative. And because we are yet to close the month dedicated to men's mental health, we delved into his documentary, Walugembe. Ask me about Shemei and I'll tell you that he's a terrific storyteller. Here's our conversation. Shemei Agabo. Welcome to Hashtag with Navguzi Chwanuka.
I saw your tweet. Was it a tweet or a post on Instagram?
Where was that? Where
the
was
hash it? And hash. Hash times. And it's so interesting because on the flip of the coin, we are really in hash times. This country can give you that environment.
The first person that made that comment was a journalist, and he insisted that he's going with hash times. And then Danza came on board. He said the same thing when I was somewhere. I was like, "Shut up, man."
Well.
So do you feel like there are hash times for you to be called here?
I don't know. We're about to find out. Because I hope you don't bear hash news or hash questions to invite hash answers.
No. There's nothing new to you. You're the one who always does the questioning, I think.
Yeah, we deal with hash things.
So today you're the one on the spotlight.
But I'm wondering why, of all people, me to be on hash times. I hope.
Why are you even saying hash times? What the heck?
Okay.
It's hash time with Navguzi Chwanuka.
What was the criterion you followed to choose me? I'm wondering. Okay, I think I need to stop asking.
There's no criteria, really. Yeah. Everyone, the platform is for everyone.
Okay.
Yes. As long as you can speak and tell your story, and you're a storyteller. So I'm really confident this is going to be very easy.
Okay. Let's see about that.
Yes, so Shemei Agabo.
Yep.
Very unique name. For those that have never heard of you, Gwani, tell us who you are.
Man, that question, I don't know. Because, I happen to produce a podcast of a friend. And when he asks that question, people just start a bit or they go mute for some seconds. And then they're like, but why that question? So I happen to be on this side. So I guess...
So for all the times that friend of yours has been... Why are we saying that friend of yours? Mwami.
I was careful to pass on the kalango.
For all the times that you've been hearing this question being asked, you've not been asking yourself that question?
Not on this side where I'm seated. It's been more of, no one will ever... I don't see it happening anytime now. So I've been only answering that maybe in documents, proposals I'm writing, where they ask you, tell us about yourself, or, somehow they ask
those
you...
Those proposals you're talking about being in a grass-thatched house, I guess. Where you easily get the funds.
The funds, of course, you have to create narratives, man. Don't get me started. But who is Shemei?
Yeah.
I'm a storyteller. In just one line, I love telling stories.
Yeah.
In fact, I think a day ago, I had to go and change my LinkedIn bio, my about, because it had this, huge... Yeah, I am producer. I am multimedia storyteller, documentary filmmaker, content creator, digital marketing. I'm like, nah.
If you don't do that on LinkedIn, where else will you do it?
I know people say that. I think I saw a meme saying that, man, the pressure on LinkedIn
Let me tell you, the first time I was on LinkedIn,
Yeah.
I felt undereducated.
I know.
People below the age of 30 have 2 masters. One is already pursuing their PhD. And you're like, okay, I think I'm in the wrong place.
I know.
I left. And it was complex, I think. I didn't understand. I was
Yeah.
seeing things like first, second,
I know.
third. I'm like, dude,
People have huge
are
titles.
these classes? Are these... So I just learned this year when I decided to return to the street. And I was like, you know what? I think everyone, because to be honest, we all have a position we hold, I think.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of how you say it, I guess.
Right.
So under storytelling, there can be so many layers that, you boost your
Yeah.
your bio on
Exactly.
LinkedIn. So I was like, everyone is hustling here. We're all going to hustle in this space. So I got back this year. But initially I was like, man, that place? No.
That place is a scare. Everyone has more than 3 titles. And so even me, when I saw that, I had to look for more than 3. I said, I can't stay with one because look at everyone. But recently it occurred to me that when you look at the future of storytelling, looking at what AI is doing, so many tools coming up, people who used to have dreadlocks and pierce their ears and they have bare titles of script writers about to lose jobs if they have not. Recently, I don't know how much you're aware, in Hollywood, writers were protesting because they were cutting their pay because the disruption happening with the writers. ChatGTP can give you a script of 270, a whole script. If you direct it, it will give you an entire script. So you just need an idea. So the future is you have to identify yourself as a storyteller because that ChatGTP can't manipulate it. Yes. So when I went back, I had to think a lot and say, you know what? I just love telling stories. And when you go and read about I love telling stories.
I love telling stories.
Exactly. So I'll not burden you with a lot of this, go to the history, go with
Shake us.
that I am currently pursuing my master's. Those things were in my bio.
And you're like, my friend, you were just saying once upon a time. Why are you pursuing a master's?
I had that also in my bio. I hear currently pursuing my master's, finish my word, and I'm also looking forward to another.
Yeah, you have to look like you have ambition. I'm going to.
Man, that place scares.
Hey, now I'm going. On second thought, I'm going to look for my partner from LinkedIn. That is where people have futures.
Okay.
They're ambitious.
I wish you safe journey as you sail through that sea of information.
Storytelling.
Yeah.
How did you get to this space?
It's long, but it starts way back. I know everyone goes through this whole thing, but I feel like when you pay attention on your upbringing, where you grew up from, the people you grew up with, the places you grew up from, the nurturing, the environment, all these are building up, to who you are. They are building you up to the character. I have a friend of mine, she has this collection of t-shirt statements and hoodies. Sefini Mustatafa. I like that word, but in this life, you're like, there is literal a script for you that was written and it unfolds before you on a daily. And every piece that happens to you adds up to that person. For the people who believe in, destiny and what, it builds up to who you're meant to be. So for me, going back to when I sat down and I looked at my life history from when I was given birth to today, it looked like everything prepared me to tell stories. I got a chance to interact with my mother, and she told me that she didn't get time to run to a hospital. So
She
literally,
didn't get time.
Yeah, like
She was busy.
The pains, the birth pangs cut through, and the neighbors came and helped me and pushed me out. And that started the whole, what you'd call the kind of storytelling I'm telling today. So with that, and even going through, there's so many hands that, quote unquote breastfed me, the things I went through, the things I witnessed in the neighborhoods, the things I saw my family going through, all that built me up to tell stories. And when I look back, I realized that that's a thing that I was being built for.
What is that thing that you saw in your home that felt like it had to be recounted?
Interesting question.
Because when you look at home, I'm looking at Lito Agabo.
Yeah.
So what is that thing that you felt like we have to recount this?
So pain is such, can I say it's a fuel? Pain is such a fuel. Pain can fuel you to start something, depending on how you look at pain. But for me, when I sat down and I looked at pain that I got to experience from childhood to, all these transitions through my teenage life, even today, even tomorrow, even the months and years to come, pain is a constant. It looks like it's part of human nature in nurturing. So when I looked at the things I experienced in terms of the painful situations I witnessed, and I'm saying this not to say that I cannot recollect the good things, but pain is such a huge fuel. When I looked at also the pain my family went through, my dad, which hopefully we can dig into it a bit because it contributes a lot to my kind of storytelling.
We're here.
Yeah.
For it.
So when I looked at also my entire family tree, the extended family, everyone, it looked like they have a portion of it they shared. And the difference with me is that I observed. The difference with me is that I watched, I observed, and I did a bit of introspection and I revisited some of those events to try and understand myself. And, I love this saying. I don't know who said it, but probably maybe because of so many things I interact with, I might not probably know the quote. But they say that history is there to teach us. The present is here to test us to see whether we learned anything from the past. And that whole kind of thing helped me pay attention because my present circumstances and the kind of life I was living and the things I was meeting, they looked like there were signals from the past. And until I met a community of people, until I interacted with material and content, it helped me open my eyes to understand that, hey, this and this and this might be the cause of where you are today and the things that you're looking at. They nurtured me. They pushed me to be who I am. In other words, what I'm trying to say is that when I look at my journey, when I look at these things, especially painful situations, they pushed me because I was looking at a lot of injustices. I was looking at a lot of dire needs. I was looking at poverty in terms of mindset, not the lack of money. Because you would see most of the things, for example, in my family, in my communities, and even up today, communities that are in dire situations. I was recently in Karamoja. You go in Karamoja, you meet families that are totally out of touch with whatever is happening in this country. Now imagine the same thing is happening when other people come and see you, they look at you in that capacity like you're so out of touch. There are more healthier communities that we like to use as examples in the Western countries that are so healthy that when they come and visit our communities, they look at the unhealthy kind of lifestyles we live. They look at a messy society. And leadership is not paying attention, or probably they are using it as a tool to carry on with power or continue with their agenda. Because they know peradventure you understand what they're doing. Power.
Someone mentioned that it is easier to rule the poor. So you find that we are in a state of systemic poverty.
Exactly. That's the thing.
Yeah.
And most of it, when you pay attention to it, there is a YouTube. If you ever text me, I can share with you that link. It's a TED Talk. This guy did research in South Africa. They did a certain research. And this research they did, they went to a certain ghetto in South Africa. And they brought cash. This cash, they were doing an experiment. They brought, let me convert it in the way I'd converted it then. They had portion of 5 million. They had portion of 10 million, 5 million. They had portion of 2 million. So they approached communities. They did 2 experiments. The first experiment was, let's call people and ask them that we want to give you 10 million now and give you also 2 million. But by the end of this, you'll be able to have something worth 100 million. Everyone wanted the 10 million. that experiment. Another experiment was they came and gave cash to people, and in their deduction, in their conclusion was that when they gave them cash, it changed how their mental health state was. It's an experiment around poverty.
No, let me tell you something. But if we're talking about mental health as well, we look at the economic, crisis that people experience. And poverty is one of the things that are challenging us in Africa.
True, very true.
When it comes to someone's mental health.
Yeah.
So I would definitely understand where the person is coming from.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that was it. There was nothing else to it. They were just having a check with the poverty vis-a-vis.
Yeah, so it's a mental health research. That TED Talk was inspired by a mental health research done in mental health and poverty, the impact. And in this research, actually what I wanted to say is that in this research is that they realized that poverty can be passed on under the skin.
Ooh.
It was interesting for me.
Ouch.
Because if that is the case, then it means that when I trace back into my family lineage, I then have to stop this. And that means that you have to do the work. Even if you don't succeed, but at least make effort towards that now. How many of our societies or communities have that?
The awareness itself is lacking.
Exactly. I'll give you an example. One of these things that, end of the year, you have plans or you want to do vacation. Try to go to these communities. Don't even go to Zanzibar. Go and pitch camp in Karamoja for like a week. Yeah. Observe. Don't even try to be the savior. Observe, write something and come back. You pay attention and realize that there's a lot going on. There's a deep poverty. But everyone who I tell about Karamoja and I tell them Karamoja is green. Karamoja has black soil. If you've studied science, you know black soil is good for crop growing, loam soil.
Loam soil.
Exactly. You find like they sell here in Kampala, they sell soil, that black soil.
Yeah. That
goes to speak to you. When you read the Human Rights Report of 2022, they said that over 2,000 people died of hunger. 2,000.
In Karamoja?
In Karamoja. That is, I think, is it?
Wait, you have just told me they have loam soil.
Exactly. That's the thing I'm telling you, that poverty, when it gets into the community, and it's passed on, meanwhile, they are not the last to die. Unless leadership steps up, unless these issues are amplified, unless these communities' awareness is created.
Yeah.
So when I looked at that report and I was reading it, and they're telling even the district, surprisingly, the district that was most hit, which is Kotido district, which had the highest death of hunger, this district is one of the best with agriculture kind of soil and stuff that would accommodate agriculture. And there's so many intricacies in this community. But for me, the shocker is this place is green. This place, it's one of the most invested in terms of water resources.
Yeah.
They've built about 5 dams and they're building another huge one, which takes about, I don't know how many billions and billions of gallons of water. But then it gets to show you that it's not how many incentives and shiny products you're going to take to this community until you deal with their mindset. Poverty is a mindset.
You have opened me up to a realization as well that these guys are not really farmers.
True. That's part of the research, you're right.
Yeah.
Because
they're just animal rearers, and that's all they understand.
In fact, my next documentary film, which will be premiering sometime in July, will be going there.
Sometime in July?
Yeah, it's here already.
Dude.
I've been working on it for 2 years.
Dude.
I think it's coming to 3 years.
July is a knock.
Yeah, exactly.
It's knocking.
Yeah, so we are taking their film. It's called A Dying Culture.
Where are you taking it?
Documentary film. Oh, in Moroto town. It's where I'll be having a premiere of it.
Oh my God.
So
who is going to take me to Moroto?
So there are these wonderful people who really financed it and helped in putting together the story. These wonderful people from InfoNile.
Yeah.
So we are going to be going there. And one of the interesting findings or the key findings in this documentary is that there is a livelihood transition happening in Karamoja. And these livelihood transitions are coming at a cost of a culture of pastoralism.
Right.
You get?
Oh, I had forgotten the word pastoralism. Oh my God, that is primary SST.
Nomadic pastoralist.
Oh my God, hear that? I wouldn't have picked that. Oh my God, I just knew catorreras. Hey, my goodness. I had really forgotten that part. Hey.
But it's funny how people from Chiruhura and that, the cattle corridor, how it cuts through.
Cattle corridor,
they don't call
I've
them
not heard of that
pastoralists,
word. Yeah.
but they call them herdsmen. But anyway, that will be
part.
another conversation.
Oh my God, pastoralist. I feel like I've gone back to primary school.
Yeah, so that story, there is transitions of livelihoods, but that is bringing an impact on the culture because all their life they have known pastoralism, moving.
Right.
And there is a lot of shift in the weather and climate of Karamoja. So there's a lot happening to them. But again, like the writer says, Karl Marx, that everything rises and falls on leadership. Leadership plays a huge part in society. As a man, yesterday I think we're celebrating Father's Day.
Yeah.
As a man, if you don't provide leadership to a family, they will take all sorts of direction. So as a country, if our father has other agendas, they'll be reflected in the kind of, children, how you behave with society, how you interact with society is how you've been led by your father. So yeah.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
Let me
Sorry, there is so many parts I had to do, but the question was...
Let me first breathe out. let me get
What
back
was
on
the
course.
question?
Let me get back on course. You reminded me of Mwami Sekavuza. Let me first breathe out. Here you are. What are the things that motivate you in the journey as a storyteller? You've talked about how pain is a huge motivator.
Yeah.
But besides that, what really drives you? What makes you feel like you can stay the course of storytelling? Because if you're going as far as wiping out every other detail from the bio and just say, I love to tell stories, what is going on there?
Yeah.
What do you feel like is not being told that you feel like you need to tell?
So there is so much to this question. I'll try to, give it in different aspects. But the most important is one which I actually realized recently when I was chatting with a friend of mine who has a space that, is into wellness and healing. I think Kath, Gratitude with Kath. So we are chatting and she poses this question.
Yeah.
Sometime back, it kept with me. It was like a dagger. I kept with it for a whole month. I wrote it down and I put it in at a place where I could see it. And every day I would want to answer it. And one of the drive was there. The thing that she asked me was, are you trying to run away from something? Are you trying to fix something you're not doing for yourself?
Ooh.
I'm like, whoa. That statement, I just threw it in YouTube and all other platforms I'm trying to, about wellness, because I have these guys I follow and I really listen to. One of the things that has helped me on my mental health journey, because I couldn't afford therapy, very expensive, I try to build a community of wellness around me, of guys who know. So, because I couldn't afford, and it has played a huge part. Of course, I'm not saying I won't go to therapy, but I want to go there when I can handle it, because I know I will need it.
What do you mean when you can handle it?
That because you have to pay. You don't have to bring jazz. Someone has taken time to, study these things, and that's their value for money also.
I do understand the part of the monetary
Exactly.
terms. I thought when you're already emotionally.
No. That one I'm ready. That's why I started the work way before the journey. But this question hit me hard. And one of the things I realized that part of me was trying to fix what I couldn't fix. The pain, the things that were going on. Because the experiences are the same around, especially in our communities and in our society like Uganda.
Yeah.
And when you look at all the countries across the curve of middle and low income countries, we share the same things. Pain is the same, the environment is the same, socially, economically, politically, and all those LLY that end with LLY. So what I did was I had to pay attention to what I was trying to do. And when I looked at it, I examined and I realized that, whoa, I need to heal. I need to find healing so that when I'm telling my stories, I don't tell them from brokenness. Because there's a televangelist called Bill Johnson. I like him so much. He has inspired my transformational journey in terms of my life, but also the stories, the transformational stories I tell.
Yeah.
He says that a healed person brings healing to a community.
Right.
That statement, I wrote it, I bolded it. I have these books I write in, for my own stuff. I bolded it, it's huge, and it opens up the book, which says that a healed person brings healing to a community, and a healed society brings about a healed nation. And currently, even that statement stood out when I joined the School of Community Leadership. Also the same thing, which says that healed communities bring healing to a nation. So when you look at the state of our potholes in a country, it's a best example of brokenness in our community. You might look at exhibition as just an exhibition, but it has a lot to say with the kind of people we have in our country. That it goes beyond a pothole. It goes beyond lack of medicine in a health facility. But it goes on to touch the kind of hearts and the kind of mindsets we have in the system. So all our leaders, I just need to look at the services they're providing. I know the state of their mindset. So that held me a lot. And from that, I started to answer. It changed even how I tell stories. It changed even my kind of detail to my writing. For example, I can walk on a street, I see someone, and I start feeling their pain. I don't know what happens, but I just look at them and all of a sudden, sorrow grips me.
You're an empath.
Or I feel it a lot.
Yeah.
I can be in a taxi, and in that whole taxi, I look at just the conductor complaining with people. I just feel in his voice the pain he's going through. And when you look at the exchange with the people they're exchanging with, you might not pay attention why, but actually they're projecting their pain.
Yeah.
So my storytelling, I realized it had that bit of projection, and the healing had to start. I started the journey. Now, on the other flip of the side...
Isn't that like last year?
Yeah.
Ouch.
Yeah. But I was telling stories. But now when I look at even the stories I started with and the stories now I'm writing and I'm telling, they are different.
Yeah.
With approach, I ask myself, why? Why do you want to tell this story? I have a very good mentor she has really been helpful on this journey. She would ask you a lot of questions. Like, why do you want to tell this story? You examine yourself. Why do you think it's really important? And these questions helped you to step back, examine the motive of why you want to tell the story. Sometimes you would pay attention and realize a part of you didn't meet this need, so you're seeing it through this story you're writing. So that is one part. But the other part is the clash of narratives. When I took on journalism, I was introduced to this phrase in journalism. Every journalism student knows it. That when you report dog bites man, you know that whole thing? Man bites a dog.
It's someone that had returned. Oh my God, which year could it be? I think there was a Castile. Was his name Castile? Who was killed in America. And there was a lot of buzz going on about blacks being killed. Yeah. And this person lives there. So when he returned, he was having an interview and they asked him about the shootings of the black people. And he said that the blacks are also killing themselves. But that's when he made this comparison. When a dog bites a dog, it's not news. Yeah. But when a dog bites... I don't remember probably, but he said it in that context. Yeah. So probably you can clear it for me.
In journalism school, probably I remember trying to do a bit of digging up on what it means and where it stems from. I don't quite remember, but maybe we could do further because it has where it comes from. But every student who goes through journalism school, they're introduced to this. It's the in thing within the newsroom that when you bring a story, and it has this whole thing of a man bites a dog is what we want to report, as opposed to a dog bites a man. That's not news because it's normal for a dog to bite a man. That's normal news. But when a man bites a dog, that's news. In other words, what makes news is, one, it has to be bad news. Two, that's why when you look at the headlines,
to bring that up.
And when you look at the headlines, and it's a bit psychological. It's on that kind of model that journalism is sort of built on. The reporting we see in the newsroom. And now it was worse when it came to Africa.
Yeah.
There is a book called African Muckrakers. It puts together some of the collection of the best investigative stories on the continent. But what this book for me, when I was reading it, one thing happened. Journalism, the way we look at it, the concept of journalism on the African continent is nuanced with the Western kind of touch in how they do reporting. So when the Western influence took a hold of journalism, which sort of gave birth to storytelling, we just took it on and we started reporting. Up until today, no one has sat back to rethink on how reporting is done in Africa. Of course, few things like African No Filter, they're trying to change the narrative. So the other part of my storytelling is pushing the envelope and telling stories about our communities different. And when you look at, for example, this documentary that we are going to premiere in Karamoja, while it's such are telling story about, a community that has been hit hard by the changes in the weather. Water scarcity. They've been hit with water scarcity. People are dying from famine because they lack food and hunger. They have some good things like good music. Their dress code. Their culture is rich. One of the richest cultures we have here, if not even some of the best in Africa. CNN profiled Chidepo as one of the best tourism destination Uganda has some years ago. Meaning there is so much richness about this culture. If you want the best videos to shoot, go to Karamoja. It's flat, it's weather. Any cinematographer in this country, if you ask them about Karamoja, they'll tell you that's one of the best places. Music videos have been shot there. They travel with crews and they go there. Tourism is huge, that area. That shows to show you that this community is not about death only. How many stories have you had in the media that are not about hunger from Karamoja making news?
Nothing.
Exactly.
Nodding disease.
Exactly. It's about guys piercing each other, fighting for cattle wrestling. It's about guys dying of famine. You hear stolen iron sheets there. Like, it's so bad. But Karamoja is rich. Just entering like this Karamoja region, you see water bodies along the road. The road there is good. The greenery there, very beautiful.
Greenery?
Yeah, it's there. It's there.
But isn't it semi-arid?
Let me tell you, the parts that are dry, when the season hits, they are heat. But again, it's not...
So it's not on a constant?
It's not like that
Can
on a
you
constant.
imagine?
The Turkana is the one which is the Turkana side. Because they are bordering.
Isn't that Kenya?
Yeah, they are bordering. There is a part of Kenya, the border between Kenya and Karamoja, that side of Amudat district, Moroto, where they share a dam called Kobebe. But that area, when it's really dry, the Turkana people come even to Uganda. No one is telling these stories.
No one.
All that we hear is they have stolen the
Because
iron
I
sheets.
know they just have sun.
You see?
And it's not surprise. And when I hear hunger stories,
Exactly.
it is not surprising because I have this imagination. I mean, it's the sun.
That's the power of stories. Exactly. One of the things that inspired me to tell stories is that communities, when you look at my stories, yes, they are sad, but I bring in the art. I bring in the musical bit of it because music, every society and community has a representation in art. But we tell stories and tend to forget all these good things and we concentrate on the bad ones. Whereas it is important to talk about problems, to find solutions, but also in how we package the story. Our stories are nuanced with so many things that our audiences get to pick these bad aspects and they forget the good aspects. So it's important.
For some reason, bad news travels faster.
True, very
That is
true.
why we're seeing more broken homes than we are seeing thriving ones.
I'm telling you, I was pitching this story. I was pitching it to someone. When they looked at it, they said, you want to tell a story during a wet season. Go in the dry season when cattle are dying. I was so shocked because I was like, what? Because for them, it's what sells out there if people are dying and you're showing people dying and you're showing a dry. But for me, I said, no, I'm going to tell this story because all the stories that have been told about Karamoja are during the dry season. So I went back in 2 seasons, which are wet season, to tell this story. And it was raining. Because I wanted, yes, there are things going on that are bad hunger, but I'm going to tell hunger in a different season so that while you're looking at the pictures, you're appreciating the beauty of Karamoja, the greenery, the food. You see sorghum in it. You see the fields full of sorghum. So that you rethink on how you were oriented about Karamoja. And I think this is what we need to do as storytellers, that we shouldn't misrepresent society. Society has so many aspects to it.
Shouldn't misrepresent.
You get. So you can come and tell a story of a community and tell it in one side and people walk away thinking that it's this one-sided story like Chimamanda said.
Yeah,
you tell
I was thinking about her
you tell this one-sided story.
The dangers of a one-sided
single story, yes. Yeah. And that is what is happening today and in our stories. And so part of my drive, besides this that I was looking at, the pain going on and how I can make effort to it, I wanted to sort of approach storytelling in a different way to bring about development in my community and see this sort of transformation through these narratives.
You've highlighted something that when I was starting out podcasting, the person that mentored me, and I'm putting that in quotes, had told me to make a list of, I think, 7 topics, because at least with the 7, it will protect me in the podcasting industry.
Yeah.
And I listed so many topics. Yeah. Like, I think there was just so much I wanted to talk about in the podcast. And one of the things that I had put down was I don't know how I termed it, but it's something related to toxicity of the media. And I was very angry during COVID because we were struggling with being present for people that were struggling mentally.
Yeah.
And then 10 p.m., these are hours within which someone is getting ready for bed.
Yeah.
This is when Gatali Konfufu is airing news or updates of Chibinyo, Babidi Bazuse. You're like, are you serious? Is that Chibinyo? There are 2 people.
Yeah.
Why are you making it so big? Because people were constantly worried. What could go worse? How many more people are dying?
Yeah.
And you cannot come on the news with that kind of attitude. Bidanze, Chibinyo, very bad news. Only 2 people. The thing is that I'm trying to put it in context for the people that aren't Ugandan.
I see what you're doing.
Because for the Ugandans, at least they would understand. So you can't come on the news and say, oh, it is very bad news, very sad. 2 people have been found.
News. Yeah.
There's the time I wanted to hold the TV and I squeeze it. Like, are you guys serious? So it makes sense when you highlight that, because there is also an audio that had been sent to me, I don't know how many years ago. I have a feeling I still have it on my phone. I keep passing it on the different devices. Maybe I don't have it on this one. It was Redeeming Your Time. I don't know if you got it.
Yeah.
But you know the story in there, that it's all about sadness. We don't want recovery stories. We don't want triumphant news. So I understand now where. Because I wanted to find out. I always wanted, but I would forget. I wanted to ask journalists, are you guys just trying to be sadistic?
Yeah.
You highlighted something about mental health. Your mental health specifically. And as we close this month, we are also supposed to be recognizing men's mental health. And today is Saturday. Oh, fuck. Jesus. Today is Monday.
Today is...
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, goodness. You need a break. You really need a break.
That's fast to breathe. Yes. Today is the last episode. Guys, I'm disappearing for a month. I need you to understand. You know, they've been saying this in the different episodes. I've been coming up like, today is Sunday. Like, oh no, it's not. Yeah, so I think they're not
I hope
surprised.
though you unplug, because you can unplug and then go on into more other activities.
I will. It will work for me. No, like this, it comes very pumped.
Yeah.
Men's mental health. And on Saturday, we had the public screening of Walugembe.
Yeah.
I don't know how long that's going to take for us to have this, but you can probably make it a little bit brief why you found it important to document Walugembe's story.
Yeah.
And for those, probably those that might not remember the story, you can highlight it a bit and tell us the need as to why you documented him.
Thank you. So for me, how I start from the beginning, how we started it, highlighting poverty, highlighting the impacts it has on our mental health. It's such a huge factor that plays out, especially when you look at our youth today, our young people. Economic stress or economic hardship is really biting up and eating up people. And it's worse when you come to Uganda. When you look at the statistics and data that I don't want to pump us, it's really, really eating up our community. And around that time, we all know the impact the COVID-19 pandemic and the lockdowns, what it did to our people. But while I was in the lockdown and I watched this story that was broadcast on, news media, and it was all over, it spread like a fire on social media. Like you were saying, that was the title, self-immolation, burnt himself. But like again, how the media works, it's more a man bites a dog. And everyone was jumping onto the self-immolation, but no one was examining why. So for me, when I looked at that in the news media, I got beaten to the core because I could relate with what Walugembe was going through. I knew for a fact that his issue was really that bad, that the only solution he had to end pain, like I said again, to end pain was to set himself on fire.
Yeah.
So from that day, I made it a point to tell his story. I looked for opportunities to find resources to tell this story, to go back to Masaka, and I examine and I investigate and I prove that actually Walugembe ended his life, not because he just wanted to end his pain, not to kill or not to end his life. And at that time, I was at the African Institute for Investigative Journalism. I pitched the story to Raymond Mojoni, who looked at the story and said, take this angle, it will be interesting. And, I took that angle, kept the script because I was trying to look for funding. And then later on, through the school where I'm at, I was given some money and I added on my extra savings and I went back to Masaka. I met the mother, I met the friends, I met the people I worked with, I met the uncle, and I investigated and I proved that actually that what ended his life was not because he wanted his border. No. He just wanted to end that pain. And that pain was just a series of things that were happening. In this story, actually, what is not told about him, what we learned is that he was doing like 4 jobs in a day. About 3 or 4 jobs in a day. This is a gentleman who would he would cook food for the entire police station in Masaka. We are talking about the central police station in Masaka. Mm-hmm. He was cooking food and porridge, all the meals. And then after that, he would wash clothes for people in the community to make money. The third one, he would slash people's compounds. And the fourth one, he would be a night watchman in the night. And the circle was the same.
When does he rest?
That's the thing. And sleep deprivation also was there in the picture. And what I learned from the mother that he was doing all that to buy a boda. He was saving that to buy a boda because what the mother shared with us, and these are not in the film. These are some of the things that we didn't put there because of the time to show. So what happened is that the mother was saying that he had so many dreams. He had promised the mother that he was going to build them a huge house. But he wanted to start with a boda and, grow his income. So such a dream. And he was, the breadwinner of the family. And he was also paying school fees for the siblings who were young. Now imagine the story that was broken on the news media at 9 with just 3 minutes, even two, it didn't even get to 2 minutes. Where I say, Muvuka yese, ku police, they took the border and they interview a few people at the police. Police will come out always, in anger. You come soft-spoken, say, we've got information, he has burnt himself, but we are trying to establish. So the important aspect I missed in that video was going to interrogate and interview the police to know how far with the report. But you know what's interesting that I found out is that the police officer who held Walugembe's border was transferred to another place, and in that place another young man died in his hands, shot him, and the mob reached out on him and killed this police officer. Now,
whoa.
Exactly. I got to learn that when I was at the station there. But look at that cycle. Because what they do is these officers are rotated. And this keeps happening in our communities. Like, is this vicious cycle? Be it poverty, be it, crime, be it what? Like, there is a whole mess in our society. And that's why of course, I don't want to get into the politics of mental health, but when you talk about mental health crisis, maybe we should change it and say, how do we fix our society? Because when we keep with mental health crisis, so many people are left out. Say, how do we fix our society? How do we clean up this mess that is going on? Where do we start from? Because if we bracket it around mental health crisis, the big pharma are benefiting from the medicine. But there is an aspect of society. There's an aspect of society that for them, they don't know antidepressants. They don't know sijui, psychiatric, what. No. All they need is they are in a community. How do we live within the community? How do I improve my livelihood? How do I improve that? So that story, there is so much about that story that became so personal to me that I wanted to tell it. And because when you talk about mental health, when I pitched this story in a certain area, they told me to go to Butabika. They wanted to change it and I go to Butabika and I tell her. So I said, no, I know what I want to tell. Because I had done research. I had, read extensively around mental health. I had read extensively about poverty, the impact, all this. I had read wide and deep about this thing. I was convinced that I was in position to tell this story because I was well guided with information. Yeah. And so when people try to pitch to me, go to Butabika, tell the state of the people who are there, I'm like, no, there are actually people alive. And even if we started examining the two of us, realize that we are also part of this bigger problem. Right, only that for them, they are tied to the facility for us who are within the community. And lastly on this, for me, I feel like the conversation around mental health needs to be taken and broken down into our communities, because this is where the real crisis is. Yeah.
It's like for every segment we get to, I have to first breathe out.
Yeah.
It's powerful, the direction that you're taking with the storytelling. I would have said that, but still, it's still valid. The direction you're taking with journalism, because I've been calling them sadists.
You should acquaint yourself with African, and I think you know it, African Filter. They're really doing good work in narratives.
Check.
You need to check them out.
I've heard of it, but I've not.
And they have these funds even for podcasters, I think.
Yeah, they
have
do.
funds for podcasters who
They
are
do.
into changing the narrative.
They do, for sure.
I hope they pay for our kalangu. Someone should get this podcast to them. Yeah.
How do you take care of your mental health?
That's a question I've been trying to really be intentional with it, because you live in an environment where you're constantly bombarded with a lot. You have to earn a living, especially like as firstborns, people are looking up to you. There is an expectation. There's all these things around. You have your ambition. You have these things that you're trying to keep things afloat. You're trying to keep the lights on. You're trying to keep the food on the table so that you're healthy. Before I answer that, I struggled with my physical health because I didn't pay attention to my mental health. I didn't take care of myself well. So what would happen? Part of me that I didn't share with you is that I was serving in church under the media department. And in there, I would, go all out, do work. And then from church, I also had personal projects. And then personal projects, you had other projects going on. And all this was, you're trying to find a balance, but you would fail to do. But at the time, I had to really sit down, do a bit of introspection, re-examine a lot of things. I said, you know what? I need to first step away from church, because I was filling myself with activities. And I wasn't growing even spiritually, because it was constantly giving out myself, giving out. So one of the decisions I made at the start of the year is to step out from church service.
The start of this year?
Yes.
Oh,
I had already made a decision around November. So what I did...
When did I meet you?
When was it? Last year, I think. But
media?
I don't remember.
Probably media. When I heard that you were local, I was like, hey, mama.
So yeah.
I fear. Let me tell you something. You see, I was like, because you had talked about the Walugembe idea, and I loved it. But then the Mlokole beat, I was like,
Yeah, the Mlokole beat.
Yeah, the Mlokole beat was like, eh? There was one guy that I was texting, and then he went, "Oh, Jesus on me," and I was like,
yeah,
my God. So when I saw you, I was like, hey.
And I'm happy conversations like these are happening.
Exactly.
For example, in church, it's something we need to interest ourselves. I was happy there is a podcast I listened to that I think you made a recommendation that time when I met you sometime. I listened to it and I could hear the person who you were hosting was from that side. But the way they were also advocating and pushing for mental health conversations within the four walls is really important. I'm happy also churches like Watoto, during their Power, Sex, Money, they're having conversations around. And if we make it a norm, because I know some churches of Baloko, they don't even allow things like counseling. In departments within their churches, but they have media departments. They have departments of ushers. Why don't they have mental health departments also? Because for them, part in the scripture says that the Holy Spirit is our counselor. But yeah, let me go back to what I was saying.
No, let me not sound like I'm not staunch church, because me, I'm Catholic.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I still stand the right of calling myself staunch. I think I became a sinner. I don't know. These days, okay.
Penitence will deal with that.
Do not let priests listen to the podcast and they start side-eyeing me.
There's a washing by the blood. Just take
I know that's not how it works, my dear. You are supposed to be ready.
Okay.
Before you take communion.
Yeah.
So we're back to you.
Yeah. So I was saying I stepped away from church because I was feeling and consuming myself with activities. And that gave me space to have time to sit long with myself, to think through my life, to reflect on some of the things that I was constantly in a loop of activities that I didn't pay attention on, the people I was hurting, the places I was not giving myself fully because a lot of my time was channeled there. And then also my relationship life was affected greatly because I didn't know how to balance and find that kind of channeling. And this is the community I needed to pour in me in times when I was empty. I wasn't giving them time. So it will be more of, after a long time of feeling myself with activities, I show up. And then showing up, you're so worn out, and then they have to feel you.
Hashtag
so they
toxic.
they got exhausted.
Hashtag toxic.
Exactly. So I started examining myself, but I didn't know how to help myself. That was the problem.
Jesus.
Because when I stepped from the activities, when I started doing other things, I didn't know now what to do. Because I made the decision to step out, but I didn't know what to do. Now, what happened is that I again filled myself with more other activities. And I started, now trying to pitch everywhere, left, right, center. And then before I knew it, sometimes I would be editing a project or working on a certain thing and checking on the clock. It's midnight or 11 p.m. and I've not eaten anything. And I've been working. And then now I run around to look for what to eat. All shops are closed.
Midnight.
Exactly. And then I have to buy fries on the streets. Those who have been on the streets in Kampala, you know those fries.
They're nice.
They have always remembered, I've not eaten anything. You get, this is oil, and then I buy milk. I buy milk which is packed.
That's what you're feeding on?
And then I get like avocado, and I'll feel like I've eaten some green bit of it. And then I would eat. I'll constantly live my life like that day in, day out. When I've maybe eaten a bit, I'll go and rush and buy matoke because I love very much matoke. But it got worse, and then I would get typhoid in and out, treat it, go back. But this, I think it was 2021, towards the end, I got really bad. And I was diagnosed with ulcers. And at first it was at a stage where the bacteria had eaten me deep and I had wounds in my stomach. I was in and out the whole of 2022. I'm just trying to get better this year because I pay more attention to my meals now. I try to watch what I'm eating, and on a constant I have to keep certain foods for myself because my physical health need to get in shape. And throughout this whole time and period, when you ask me how do you take care of my mental health, I say that I didn't pay attention to it until, friends, this community that I was in, they opened my eyes that you need to pay attention to your physical health because your physical health will feed into your mental health and your spiritual health. There has to be a balance between those three. If one is affected, it affects the other. Because if you're physically not healthy, your mental health is affected, your spiritual health is affected. The other way around, if your spiritual life is affected, your mental health is affected and your physical health is affected.
I was there.
So I had to really pay attention to this. And now what I'm trying to do more is one, of course, have grace on myself, take care of myself because now I had wanted to make a decision. And I'm that kind who would have those emotional outbursts. You make emotional decisions. Immediately you stop a thing. But this time around, I started exposing myself to these wellness communities that were speaking into me, that I was learning. I was introspecting, I would reflect. I'm still on a journey. I cannot say the healing is all complete. There are things where I fail, and I fail a lot. There are relationships I need to go back and mend because I affected them. I broke a lot of people down. Yeah. So I'm trying to, but before I step in there, I'm trying to get better for myself. And
for
then,
yourself.
It's a journey.
I mean, you can't pour from an empty cup.
Exactly.
So it makes sense when you first prioritize your well-being before you go out to other people.
Very true, yeah.
What words do you want to leave the listener?
Hey. Is this the moment where I sound like Shakespeare?
Do it. Do it and we bow.
Life is a whole. Like, you cannot live life in one aspect. You need to look at life from all aspects. Your mental health is important. Your physical health is important. Your spiritual health is important. And all these areas I'm struggling in. up until today. But one thing that I always remind myself is not to be hard on myself, but also I try to do a lot of introspection when I can. It could be on a daily, or if I miss it, it could be maybe like those days like a Sunday or Saturday when you're with yourself, you reflect, and then you try to do something about it. But then there are those that need you time to process and heal to be able to approach, and those I have a lot of them. I am trying to deal with myself and hold myself so that I can approach some of those people, some of those places I was in then, that I did things that I didn't know, to try and reconcile. Because when I look at my life, when I look at my vision and my purpose, it will necessitate me working with people and dealing with people. And unless I heal, I'm going to leave behind marks of brokenness. In trying to pursue healing, I'll be bringing brokenness. So it's important to, examine and know the drive of your present situation, to understand where is it that I missed it? Where is it that maybe I need to deal with so that I don't carry this brokenness to other people or to another society. Yep.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for hosting me.
How do you feel?
It feels like a space. I've never been into such a space where I get to be vulnerable like this. And I feel like I should edit this podcast myself.
Dictator.
I feel like I should edit this podcast myself.
We are saying no to dictators. Yes, we promote self-love here, but not like that.
I should edit. I hope this podcast doesn't get into the ears of some people.
Hey, we don't care.
But it's okay. It's well.
We shall be fine. Thank you so much, Shemei.
So this is going to be hard for me to say, but I'm going to be away. It is time for the podcast mid-season break. I will not be publishing conversations next month, but if last year's break worked for you, this one is still going to work for you. If you don't have a single idea about what I'm talking about, July is going to be a moment for you and I to take a pause, self-reflect, and also silence or calm the unsettling voices in our heads. But for now, thank you so much for hanging out with us to the very end. If you loved this conversation, do me a favor and hit the subscribe button in your podcast platform of choice. Also, feel free to share your insights about what connected with you on social media, and be sure to tag us. We are at #with Navguzichwanka on Facebook and Instagram, and on Twitter, our handle is at HTNKU Podcast, or you can use the hashtag HTNK in session. See you next month, where we take a pause, reflect, and calm the unsettling voices. Ciao.